Back in 1857, a massive storm of rebellions swept across northern India. It didn't just shake the British Empire, it nearly brought it to its knees. This was a brutal, pivotal moment in India's history. So, how did it all go down? Let's get into it. It all kicks off with this one wild question, a question that turned decades of quiet anger into a full-blown war. How on earth could something as small as a rifle cartridge become the spark that lit an entire subcontinent on fire? And here it is, the spark. The British introduced a new rifle, and to use it, soldiers had to bite open a greased cartridge. The rumor that spread like wildfire was that the grease was made from cow and pig fat. Now, you have to understand, for Hindu soldiers, the cow is sacred. For Muslim soldiers, the pig is completely taboo. So this wasn't just some new procedure. It felt like a direct attack on their faith, on their very souls. But here's the thing. A spark only starts a fire if the forest is already bone dry. To really get why this one spark caused such a massive explosion, we have to rewind. We're talking about 100 years of British rule. A century of policies that had created a tinderbox of grievances, affecting every single person in Indian society. And when you look at the economics of it, it's just devastating. The British took apart India's traditional economy piece by piece. Peasants were absolutely crushed by heavy taxes, which forced them into the hands of moneylenders, who then take their land. Local artisans, the craftsmen, they lost their jobs as their patrons, the local kings and nobles, were kicked out. And Indian-made goods were hit with huge taxes, while British goods flooded the market. In one region alone, Awadh, which became the heart of the revolt, 21,000 local aristocrats just had their land taken away. Just like that. You know, Karl Marx, writing just a few years before all this kicked off, he put it perfectly. He saw exactly what was happening. Britain basically shut India's world-famous textiles out of Europe, and then turned around and flooded India, the mother country of cotton, with its own factory-made cloth. It was completely predatory. And it wasn't just about money. Politically, the British were just relentless. They had policies like the doctrine of lapse, which basically meant if a ruler died without a son, the British could just take over their kingdom. They publicly humiliated the Mughal emperor, the symbolic ruler of India, and for the average person, dealing with the police or local officials meant dealing with constant corruption. The whole system just felt foreign, unfair, and designed to benefit someone else. And then you've got this huge cultural clash boiling under the surface. The British walked around with this air of racial superiority that people deeply resented. Christian missionaries were everywhere, and many Indians felt their faith was under threat. You know, even some of the British social reforms, things that might seem progressive to us, like abolishing sati, were seen by many conservatives as the British sticking their nose where it didn't belong. It all just fed a growing fear that their entire way of life was being erased. And this brings us to a really, really important idea. The peasant in uniform. The Indian soldier, the sepoy, wasn't some isolated mercenary. He was a farmer's son, a villager's brother. All the problems we just talked about, the crazy taxes, the lost land, the religious fears, that was happening to his family, back in his village. So when the army got angry, it wasn't just the army. It was the entire country's anger finding a voice. Okay, so you've got all this dry tinder, all this anger and frustration. Let's see how that one little spark, the greased cartridges, set the whole thing ablaze. And wow, did it happen fast. In February, a whole regiment mutinies. In April, a sepoy named Mangal Pandey becomes a hero overnight after attacking his officers. He's executed and becomes a martyr. Then in May, it really explodes. In the city of Meerut, 85 soldiers refuse the cartridges, and the British publicly humiliate them, putting them in chains. The very next day, their comrades have had enough. They break out of their barracks, they free the prisoners, they kill their officers, and they start marching to the ancient capital city, Delhi. Now, once they got to Delhi, the soldiers did something brilliant, something that changed everything. They found the old, basically powerless Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, and declared him the leader of their rebellion. In that one moment, this stopped being just a soldier's mutiny. It became a revolutionary war. They now had a symbol of unity, a figurehead for a new India, free of the British. And this number, this just shows you, this was not just a military affair, not even close. In just one province, Awadh, it's estimated that out of 150,000 people who died fighting, over 100,000 were ordinary civilians. We're talking about peasants, shopkeepers, local leaders. They all picked up whatever they could find and joined the fight. This was a massive popular uprising.
So, with a rebellion this huge and popular, you're going to get some incredible leaders stepping up, right? And they came from all over, from every walk of life, all united by one thing: getting the British out.
He had leaders popping up everywhere. In Delhi, the real power was this sepoy general, Bakht Khan. In Kanpur, you had Nana Sahib, a prince who'd had his inheritance stolen by the British. In Lucknow, the fierce Begum Hazrat Mahal led the fight after they annexed her kingdom. You had nobles like Khan Bahadur, and even an elderly landlord, Kunwar Singh, who fought like a lion in Bihar. Each one had their own reason to fight, but they all fought a common enemy.
But out of all these incredible figures, maybe the most famous, the most iconic, was Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi. Remember that doctrine of lapse we talked about? Well, this is where it hits home. The British used it to annex her kingdom when her husband died. She wasn't having it. Her battle cry was, "I shall not give away my Jhansi," and she personally led her troops into battle. Her courage was just legendary. So much so that even the British general who finally defeated her, Sir Hugh Rose, paid her this incredible tribute. He basically admitted she was the toughest and most capable leader he faced out of everyone. And this is so important. The leadership wasn't just royalty and aristocracy. It was coming from the ground up. Take a guy like Shah Mal. He was just a villager, but he rode from village to village at night, convincing thousands of peasants to join the fight. He organized them, cut off British supply lines, and even set up his own parallel government. It just goes to show how deep this rebellion really went.
But for all its passion and fury, the rebellion was up against the full, organized might of the British Empire, and the empire's response was swift and absolutely brutal. The British retook Delhi in September 1857, and the payback was just horrific. After the city fell, they captured the Mughal princes, the sons of the emperor, and a British officer shot them dead in public at point-blank range. It was a message.
As for the emperor himself, Bahadur Shah, he was captured and exiled to Rangoon, in what's now Myanmar. He died there a few years later, a lonely poet king far from home. And just like that, after more than 300 years, the great Mughal dynasty was over, extinguished. So yeah, the revolt was crushed, but the memory of what happened in 1857, of Hindus and Muslims fighting together, of queens and peasants rising up as one, that never went away. It left a deep scar for sure, but it also left a powerful legacy. Which leads us to our final question. Was this really the end of a rebellion? Or was it actually the first war of independence? The true beginning of a revolution?